Hello there, Dasphonia here, and today I'm going to be going over a tutorial to show you how to export the map geometry through the official provided files in the Halo 2 editing kit for being able to edit the map's geometry is to your desired experience that you want to have with an official Halo 2 map. This tutorial could technically cover other Halo titles, but pretty much anything beyond Halo 2 will require more setup and stuff in Blender. But basically, as far as I know, it would. But anyway, basically, this should cover at least Halo 1 and Halo 2. So, where we want to start basically is we need to first get the Halo Asset Blender Development Toolset. So go ahead and download this. All links to web pages will be provided in the description. So go to the releases over here, and then you want to download this full tool set here. You don't want any of these others. Download that zip. And then when you've downloaded it, you would want to put this is the full what do I want to say, plugin set basically for Blender. You just place this wherever is best for you. You can leave it in your downloads folder or put it close to your Halo 2 editing kit. That it's up to you. It doesn't matter. So what we would want to do is go ahead and go to Blender and install this plugin set. As you see, I have all these already here because I have it already installed. So just to show you how to install it, we want to go to Edit, Preferences, and then go to Install, and go to your downloads or wherever you ended up placing it. Select the zip file. You do not extract the zip file, it stays as is. Select it and then install add-on. I already have it installed, so I'm not going to press that. And then what you do is type in Halo here, and it should pop this up right here. It will not be checkmarked. You need to checkmark it to enable it, and then you can exit out of that once you've enabled it, and then you will then have within export and import these options here. We're specifically looking at the .as option because we need to import a .as and then export a .as. Woohoo! So, before we go into extracting the files, obviously you need the Halo Master Chief Collection tools. You can get those through Steam. So you would need to select the tools here in this drop-down box and then enable tools, and then you should be able to download these. Again, we're focusing on Halo 2, so download Halo 2s. Now that you've done that, once you do that, once you get those downloaded, you need to come to your Halo 2 editing kit directory, wherever you chose to download it to. You need to extract the data zip and the tag zip. They will just be a data folder, and then it will create a data folder, obviously, once you extract it, and a tags folder, and it will create a tags folder once you extract it. And these two folders are very important. The data folder is what contains all the non-uncompiled, basically proprietary Halo format files for the most part, like .tiff images, which are texture images, other things, whatnot. Your .as file, which is kind of like an intermediate proprietary format, but not truly proprietary to Halo. I mean, it is, but it's not like compiled and completely secretive and this and that to an extent. But anyway, that's not important for the knowledge of this tutorial. And then you have your tags, which is when everything is already all compiled into their proprietary formats. This is what contains a texture file, like the image itself. This is what contains that. And then you have your shaders, which reference those bitmaps. And yeah, that's these files here that then determine or tell the game engine how to render those texture images. That's just an example of what these are. So, moving on. What we need to do now is go ahead and extract the BSP that we need so we can edit it within Blender. So to do that, what we need is Osoyoos or Osoyoos or however you say this program. I'll just say it whatever way I feel like saying it for the sake of I'm just trying to get this tutorial done. So I'm not going to worry about pronunciation. But anyway, um, what you need to do is set this up now. This program, again, can be downloaded from this web page. Link will be provided in the description. Go to releases and then download the executable only, this .exe right here. Download that, put it wherever you want. I have it in the downloads folder here. Again, put it relative to your Halo tools. Keep things organized. It's nice and simple, but wherever you want it, it's your choice. So run it, and once you got it open, go to Toolkit Profiles. This actually might pop up on the first launch. I can't remember. But anyway, go ahead and create a new profile, add a profile, and then name it like Halo 2 or Halo 2 MCC, whatever you want to name it. And then you need to set up all your executable directory references and your folder directory references. So go to your Halo 2 editing kit root directory, and you need tool.exe. It references this down here. Tool fast, you get it. Sapien and Gorilla, etc. The only confusing one is Halo 2 tag test. This is kind of more. You don't really need to define this, but what it is it game path wants to reference this. This is Halo 2 tag test. This is a version of the game's executable that loads the tags folder, basically. Not loading a .map file like the normal client does when you're playing on the MCC and playing on matchmaking and this and that, or playing with your friends. You're loading compiled .map files. This runs through the tags folder. Everything is raw and basically uncompiled is what it is. So not important to this, but that's what this is. It's kind of cool that they actually included this with the MCC. It makes debugging and this and that nice and easy to an extent. So that's that. So you want to make sure you have that there too if you need to use it for whatever command it might be in the future. That's something I don't know why you would need to use it from here, but I'm sure there's a use. Next, select build type. You want MCC. Standalone is Halo 2 Vista. We're not working with that. That's a whole mess if you were to try to work with that. So we want MCC. Gen 2, obviously for Halo 2. Gen 1 is Halo 1. Gen 3, Halo 3. So select Gen 2, save. All right, now we can extract the BSP. So we need to run a custom tool command. What this is going to do, running a custom tool command, is it's going to be running this here. It's going to run tool.exe. What tool.exe is just a command line program. Normally you would run it through command prompt by typing in commands in a more drawn out, annoying format. But because we defined all the directories and everything in Osoyoos, it streamlines it a little bit. So that's why we use that. Makes things nice and simple and kind of, you don't have to remember as much, basically. So I have the command listed here, not in this file, right here. We need to use this command extract -structure -data. Paste that, space, quotation mark, and we need to extract the BSP. So where that is located at, I will actually navigate to it just so you can see the folder structure. We want to go to the tags, scenarios, multi, headlong. Ignore all these. I'm just going to go ahead and delete these out of here for cleanliness sake here. And we want to extract, we're going to be extracting data from this file right here. This is scenario structure BSP. This contains all the geometry. The .scenario file, to not get it confused, is basically the overarching file that kind of brings all these together into a usable, viewable, kind of finished map, I guess, if you want to put it that way. It's not really it, but whatever. What you see here in Sapien, which is kind of like the quote-unquote forge tool that you edit the .scenario file, as you see at the top left corner here. I have it open, and it kind of just brings everything together in the space that you can edit, place objects. If you go to like this right here, go to mission, objects, scenery, you click on this folder, right click down here, it'll place an object. That object is currently nothing, so you change it to something, and then I have placed a dumpster. I'm not going to have that there. I'm going to delete it. That's just this is what Sapien is. It's basically your forage tool. But yeah, so moving on. Let's get the data from here now. Let's go ahead and pop this up just for the nice background. And then let's go back to Osoyoos. And now let's type in that directory I was talking about. Scenarios, multi, headlong, and then this is the file name here, head long, and then we want an end quotation and run. And we have successfully extracted the BSP. As you see, it gives us the directory as to where it landed at, which is the data folder, which, like I explained earlier, that's kind of the pre-compiled phase, basically, folder, the data folder. So we go ahead, copy this section of the directory, and then we want to import it. So let's go to Blender, and now this is where the basic Blender tutorial starts. So we're currently in the layout tab here. We don't want to be in that. We want to be in modeling. This is the better layout that we want to work in, the better format that you should be working in. So we're currently in edit mode. We don't want to be in edit mode. We want I press the wrong button there. We want to be in edit mode. Okay. Or, sorry, we want to be in object mode. We don't want to be in edit mode. Material preview. Let's do that. Okay. Sorry, I'm pressing the wrong buttons here. Getting ahead of myself here. Object mode. Select all by pressing the A key only. And then the delete key. And that removes everything. We don't want any of that stuff there. We want to then import with .as and go to your Halo 2 editing kit directory, data, exclamation point extracted, and headlong, and then we want structure and headlong.as. All right, now we are way zoomed in on the center of the map. So before we zoom out and fly around in this and that, we need to open this menu here. You can do that by pressing this arrow or the N key on your keyboard. And then go to view, and we want to change this value to a big value of 9999 whatever, and then we can zoom out and we can see things very nice and clearly for the most part. We're kind of all blocked in with some big old walls here. So what those are is, if you come over to the right hand side here, those are the portals, which are basically big old walls, flat, planes I should say, that are intersecting through the map. They're for basically efficiency and rendering optimizations within the map and this and that. It's all back-end stuff, not important to this tutorial. We can disable it by pressing the eyeball button here. This you definitely want to re-enable once you're exporting. It's just while we're doing our editing, we definitely want it disabled because it's just in the way and annoying. So next, what we need to run or set up first is we want to set up the scene properties, which is right here. Then we go to Halo scene properties, set the game version to Halo 2, and then go down a little further and to AS scene properties. And we want to deselect this. This is kind of important if you want to. You can leave this selected. It's optional, your opinion, whatever way you want to do it. But what it does is, if I hid the portals and left them hidden and then deselected this, then the portals will not extract with the export. We definitely would want them to export, so you would obviously unhide them and then they would export with it. But this is there if you want to hide certain things. Like if I wanted to hide these palm trees or whatever, I could then hide them and then they would not export, and for whatever reason, if you want to do that. But anyway, next we want to select this. This is 100% something that should be selected always. This will prevent textures from looking weird and glossy and stuff in game. It's just how things work out with the Halo compiling process. So we're done there. We can kind of collapse that. And now what we want to do next is go to this here on the sidebar. You go to Halo Tools and scroll down to here to import fixup. So what we need to do here is I'll actually show off the issue that happens. Since the way you export the BSP, it kind of messes up the geometry. For some reason, it's kind of hard to explain why it happens, but if I grab this vertex here, as you see, none of these other vertexes move along. All these should also move. They're all separate. So what we need to do, run this command, set this to a value of this, and then run import fixup, and then should be all good to go. Sometimes you might have to run it multiple times, but if you do that value of 0.001, it should pretty much do the trick. If not, for some reason, run it again or try a slightly bigger value. You don't want to go too big, otherwise you'll actually destroy some of the geometry of the map. That would not be good. So once you've run that, we can now edit the geometry as we see fit. So let's go ahead and kind of run through a basic editing little tutorial here, I guess. So 1, 2, and 3 on your keyboard by the escape button. Those 1, 2, and 3, not your numpad. Those select between your. Those will change your selection modes. You can also just click on them up here if you want to edit a face. Again, they're all divided in triangles. You can select this to edit a face, or if I press 2, I can do an edge, or if I press 1, I can do a vertex. So with that being said, let's do a little geometry edit here. We'll just select this one here. Let's do some random extrusions over here. Kind of stupid, pointless, whatever. To select different parts of the map, again, you have to be in object mode, and then you change yourself to edit mode. I'm just kind of glossing over it because it's really basic Blender stuff. It's not really something I should be telling you because you should probably know how to use Blender before doing this. But anyway, yeah, you get the point. Geometry's edited there. So that's that. Now, if you want to retexture certain spots, like say there's non-rendering spots on a map, and you want them to render with a texture, up here I know is a perfect example. I'll go back to Sapien, fly up there just for the example of this. As you see, there's no texture rendered on top of this building here. So you might want that if you're editing the map for whatever purpose you are doing. So let's go ahead and fix that. So we need to go to the material sphere down here. Material properties is the name of this tab. Click on it, and then let's make sure we have this building selected. And then let's grab the faces tool and start selecting the faces. So to select multiple faces at once, hold shift while you're left clicking on them, and that will select multiple faces. Oops, unselected it. Okay, I think I got it all. Missed one face. Okay, there we go. So now what we're needing to do is come over to the right hand side here. As you see, seam sealer is selected for the material of these faces. It will always have selected the last face you selected. It will always have that texture or material selected over here. So anyways, we want to change it to headlong metal gray because that's the proper texture, I guess, if you want to say it that way, the proper texture to apply to this to make it look normal, quote unquote normal. So let's click on that material and then just press assign. And now we've retextured it to have a real texture and not that seam sealer texture. Let's do this building as well. Select those and let's do this one, assign, done. Heck, we can do this building over here too. And let's grab this, grab that, and let's do this, assign. All right. Now we have applied textures to those buildings. Yeah, let's do this one here too. Why not? We're at it. Let's do it. select this, assign. All right, now these buildings will all have textures on the top of them. And let's do it for this too. Why not? All right, cool. So we've taken care of that, and now we can export the map. But if you want to stick around in this portion here, I'm going to actually explain something about texturing. So the map might look textured or untextured right now, but it totally is. The names over here are all that matters to make sure Halo knows what texture to apply to the surface. Blender does not need to have the textures rendered in here to successfully texture your map. It's just a visual thing to have the textures rendered within Blender. It's kind of just pointless too. But if you're going to do specific, important, detailed texture work, you probably want to have the textures rendered on whatever surface you're working on. So let's go over getting one properly imported into Blender. So what you would need is a third-party tool to get the textures for Halo 2. You need a third-party tool. I have it downloaded and placed it into here. You would run this through command prompt. I have a command prompt, or I will open up a command prompt in here. CMD, you just type it up here, press enter, and now it is a command prompt that is already set to the Halo 2 editing kit directory. This tool is the Halo 2 color plate extractor. Again, I will have a download link. You just go to the releases and download this zip and extract the exe. This is another command line tool. So you will, again, like I said, need command prompt to be open. You would do Halo 2 color plate extract or, and then you will need to have your data directory here. So copy this, paste that there. If you have any spaces within this directory, you definitely need to include quotes around it. So let's do tags. And then let's just do it like that just because for sake of not trying to confuse you anymore. Okay. And then you would type in all. Again, they go over that he already has this information. Within his README right here. It's kind of confusing if you're really new to this stuff. But yeah, you just press enter and it should extract all. Excuse me. Okay. So I already have done it. Again, I'm not going to run this command. I have extracted them all and placed them within this folder here. So let's go ahead and get one of those textures in here. So I'm going to do this road here because it's a texture I already know how to find and everything. So we don't need to select anything per se here. Let's just select this section here. We know the shader it uses, the dot shader that the texture file is rendered in is called cheap street straight. So to explain what shaders, how to name these in Blender, if you were to do custom map work or whatever, you would need the shader collections file, which is located in this folder here, and you can open it in any text document. It's located in tags, scenarios, shaders, and again, right click on it, edit with whatever, open with whatever text editing program you would like to use. As you see here, back in Blender, we have long space cheap underscore street underscore straight. That long in front there is a prefix because you see there's a space in between, that's a prefix. There can be suffixes, which this one has a suffix at the end. I believe that's luminescence. It's a more specific thing that's, again, doesn't really pertain to this tutorial whatsoever. But yeah, that's how Halo knows what texture to use because these are shader names. It tells when you export it, it knows what shader to use, which the shader then tells the engine which texture to render, etc. It's it's a whole chain of things. But the shader collections file here tells what directory to look for those shaders in. So it helps speed up compile time. So it has these predefined locations. By using this prefix long, it will know where to look for this cheap straight shader at. It will look in this, it'll look in within that directory right there. So that's out of the way. That's just more information about the Halo engine itself. Let's get back to Blender. So we need to give it this texture. We need to click on the cheap street straight, and let's use node. And then we come down to base color, click this yellow button, and then image texture, and then it will open up these two here. You click open, and we go to Halo 2 editing kit for myself, because this is where I have all the texture bitmaps extracted to. You go to wherever you extract it to. And then I'm going to go to scenarios, bitmaps, human, urban, metals, and then I'm going to scroll down again because I already know what texture this uses. Sometimes it's a bit of a search to find out. That's why you don't need to set up these textures, because it's kind of annoying to do this. It's for really only specific instances, or if you're making an entire new map, then obviously as you add new textures to your map, you're going to need to select the texture you want and whatnot, and cross-reference it to the correct shader that uses that actual texture. Anyway, select this, and now nothing looks like it's rendered. Nothing has changed because we're in the incorrect rendering view situation here. So if I press Z on my keyboard, we go to Material Preview, and voila, now we're rendering the material textures here. You can also select it up here. You can change it up here at the top right corners to which one you want, but Z is obviously a nice, quick, convenient shortcut. So the next thing to go even more advanced within the Blender aspect, again, this will not affect the output into the Halo engine. This is purely for Blender aesthetics only. So let's fix the scene here, and let's make this texture properly scaled. Some shaders apply a scale within the game engine that will change how to scale the texture image when it's rendering in the game. I know this texture uses a scaling of 2 on the y-axis. I don't know if that is the exact axis it is in the actual Halo engine, but that's what it is here in Blender. But anyway, that's not important. So let's fix the scale of this texture so it looks correct. I will show you in Sapien again what it actually should, or what it does look like in the engine. And so we will fix it and make it look what it should look like in Blender. So as you see, these lines are definitely scaled differently. So what we need to go to do is the shading tab up in the top here. Every time you go into these windows, these new tabs, you have to reset up your viewport here. So again, press N, view. Let's change this to 9999, whatever, some big number, and then we can close out of that, and we want to make sure we're in the material view, which we already are. Zoom out, and you can come over to this road texture so we can stare at it in real time. Because of the previous texture and faces we were just working with, it should already be selected down here. If not, select from the list and find the material you need to work with. So we're working with street straight. What we now need to do is add 2 new nodes to this texture, this material, I should say. So go to the add button here next to node, so we can add our new nodes. And then we need vector, and we need mapping. So place that here. And then we need to add input texture coordinate. And then we need to grab UV, drag that to here at the top, into the vector tab, and then drag this vector tab down to vector here. Now it's actually modifying the output of the image right here, as you kind of see how it links together. So what we now need to do is come down to scale here, and we need to scale it on the y-axis like I said earlier. Let's scale it by 2 like I said, and now as you see, it updated in real time. It now displays as scaled by 2. Again, this is purely visual for Blender only, does not affect the exported output into the Halo space. It doesn't touch the engines, what the engine does. Um, so that's basically that. This can be, kind of useful if you're going to set up the entire texture setting for your map, but this is just tips and tricks for Blender for Halo mapping specific purposes. So now let's go ahead and export the map into the Halo format. Let's go back to this view here just because it's a nice view, and let's do another edit here to this road here to show off one more quick trick. So let's open up this here. We want to go to Tool and then Options and then Correct Face Attributes. So what you need to do, or why you would do that, if you're to edit this road here, as you see, it properly scales the texture as you're dragging it along to a certain point, that is. It will properly scale these textures. If you do not select this, you'll see what it does here. Woo, there goes the texture. So this will help keep textures looking nice if you want to edit the geometry in that way. So let's get out of edit mode, and now let's export the map. So export that .as, and then we want to export it to your data folder. These folders you will probably have to create, so you'll have to. These folders probably are not or will not be here when you are exporting for the first time and setting up everything. So you need to create a scenarios folder, and then within that, obviously multi, and then headlong, and then structure within the headlong folder, and then in the structure folder, go ahead and export your AS here. But before I do this, we need to select this button right here, use scene properties. This will use the properties we set up earlier over here. So then we press export as, and down here it will pop up. Yep, export completed successfully. All right, and now we need to run a second command through Osoyoos. Osoyoos, whatever. My voice cracked there. Let's see here. Yes, right. In here. Okay, some structure new from as. We need to custom tool command, and then we press this, and then type in scenarios, multi, headlong, structure, headlong, if I can type correctly, .as. You need the file type in this instance, and in the quote, and run. And now it is compiling our new BSP file. So again, to quick navigate to that while it's doing that, it is going to be replacing. It will be replacing this file right here in about 50 seconds here. So I will be back when it's done. Okay, it has now completed. And now we will go to Sapien and we can show what has come with our changes. So as you see, there's the edited road there. And here's this goofy, whatever the hell you want to call that edit there. And that. And then fly on up to here. And voila, now we have faces. Oh, missed that one there. I have faces on top of these that are actually rendered. Pretty cool. There is some errors there with, looks like some rendering errors. Something might have gotten overwritten here or something, might require a little more specific tailoring. Maybe it might have been caused by when we did the import fix up earlier, but again, that's something you can play with. This is just a quick tutorial, as quick as it really is, not very quick, but lots to cover. So that's basically it. So all you would have to do at this point is run the light maps of the map and generate the light maps, I should say, and then compile this into a .map cache. So to quick show something here in Sapien, to play, you can actually play in the map while you're in Sapien, kind of play, I should say. If you go to game data here, open up game data, and then go to player simulation. You can right click, or there's another way to do it. You could just press, you could click on player simulation and just press tab and it'll spawn you, or you can right click to change where your Spartan spawns at for player simulation. So I'm going to make this window bigger, and then I'm going to press tab to then go into my Spartan, and now you can play around and kind of just jump around and experience the map in its basic format. Again, the map doesn't have lighting because it's every time you make a compile of the BSP, you have to rerun light maps. That's the way it works. That's the way it logically should work. But yeah, there's that. I'm walking on it like nothing, like it's everyday business here. So yeah, that's that aspect of Sapien. And so to run light maps, you can do that through Osoyoos as well. You do this, set this to 0. If you have it above 0, it might cause errors in this and that. I'm not too advanced with this stuff. You would want to select this as well. This can kind of make the process go faster. To do the final light mapping process, when you're done doing all edits to the map, you definitely want to set this to super. That's what Bungie rendered the light maps as for their final products for each map. Otherwise, if you're going to keep doing iterations of the map and you need to see lighting for whatever reason, I suggest doing these. These will be much faster. This can take up to hours depending on how complex the map is and how slow your computer is or fast your computer is. What you do is browse and select. It tells you what file type to select. I'm sure you can figure it out at this point. And then to compile your map, once you have light maps and everything done, you would want to run this. Select your scenario file. So again, you would just want scenarios, multi, headlong, and that, and select that, and you would press package level. You might want to check this. I don't know if this quite works or not. This is to make smaller map files, but I don't think this quite works with the current toolset versioning, or people just haven't really figured out how to set it up. I'm not sure, but basically ignore everything except compress. That might be your only friend at this point. But yeah, and then you press package level and it will spit out a .map file, which will then be located in your Halo 2 editing kit and in the Halo 2 Maps 164 DX11 folder. It will be here. You then take that, put it in your MCC folder where your headlong.map is at. Obviously, you probably want to back up your .map because you can't play in official matchmaking with your version of the map, and you probably want to start Halo 2 with anti-cheat off, or I should say the Master Chief Collection with anti-cheat off. So yeah, and one last final detail is, of course, these maps will not work in Halo 2 Vista. So with that being said, that's the tutorial. I hope you enjoyed and learned something. Thanks for watching.